Thanks for joining us on this very busy Saturday. We start with a Fox News alert because it was yesterday U.S. District Judge James Robart, a George W. Bush appointee, essentially stopped President Trump's temporary travel order restricting travel from 7 countries for 4 months. Said you can't do it and stopped it effectively.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection got a hold, well, on their website, they were talking to all the airlines saying nationals from those 7 affected countries are allowed on U.S. flights now, and refugees with valid U.S. visas or green cards can board the plane. They just have to go through the proper process once they arrive to the United States.
Yeah, so the green cards, they reinstated them after the 48 hours, so that wasn't a problem. They estimated that about 60,000 people have been put on delay because this is a pause. That's all it is until we can get extreme vetting. And this is a bit of a jolt to the White House. They came out with this statement. They said at the earliest possible time, the Department of Justice intends to file an emergency stay. The president's order is intended to protect the homeland, and he has the constitutional authority and responsibility to protect the American people. And I think if their communications can staff up and get ready, they've only been doing this a week and a half, they can communicate effectively what this is all about. This isn't anti-Muslim. This is called pro-security. And if you see the guy that showed up in Paris at the Louvre with a machete, that's what we're trying to avoid.
That's what Donald Trump was tweeting about yesterday. He also gave his weekly address, and in the address, he did talk about this immigration order. Take a listen.
I will never forget that my responsibility is to keep you, the American people, safe and free. That's why last week I signed an executive order to help keep terrorists out of our country. The executive order establishes a process to develop new vetting and mechanisms to ensure those coming into America love and support our people, that they have good intentions. On every single front, we are working to deliver for American workers and American families. You, the law-abiding citizens of this country, are my total priority. Your safety, your jobs, and your wages guide our decisions.
You know what? This is going to set up an epic battle between with Donald Trump and his White House. It's going to be dragged through the courts for a while. But it ultimately comes down to this. Do people who are not American citizens have a constitutional right to be in this country? And the answer is absolutely not. I mean, it is clear. Alan Dershowitz, who certainly is not a Republican, says essentially the law is on Trump's side because the Constitution does not protect non-citizens, and that's what this is about. The reason it was settled up in Washington State is because Washington State said we have standing in this because we've got a bunch of university students and staff overseas who effectively can't come home. So the judge said, you're right, you've got standing. Now he issued this particular ruling, and it's going to stand temporarily until they can sort it out.
In a way, I think it's message sent. The administration says, I'm going to do what I told you I'm going to do. We're going to let the legal mechanisms come off the way they want. But I give you Exhibit A, Belgium. Exhibit B, France. Exhibit C, Germany. They said, open the doors, we have a big heart. And in turn, in many cases, they were wondering why they can't walk the streets and feel safe again. They opened up their hearts without proper vetting, and it's been a disaster, if I could use the president's word. That's all he's trying to do. He's not anti-Muslim. He's not this or that. He's just saying the problem is radical extremists. Their goal is to infiltrate the refugee program. I'd like to stop and evaluate an effective extreme vetting system in order to keep us safe. If you don't want to do it, if you want to protest about it, if you want to use the courts to overturn it, I can't do anything else. If you don't want to lock your door, I can't make you secure.
Well, these judges need to listen to the American people. He won. He won the election, and people went to the polls for this very issue, to keep this country safe. People are tired of people from other countries having more rights than the people who pay taxes and live here.
So, it's also just one other note. It's interesting. Jeff Bezos, the guy who runs Amazon.com, is a big supporter of this legal action in Washington. And we also know that, he and Mr. Trump have had some problems in the past. His newspaper, the Washington Post, beats up Donald Trump left and right. So Jeff Bezos probably feeling pretty good that the judge in the case that he legally supported, the guy from Amazon.com, ruled in his favor.
And of course, Ainsley is an Amazon Prime
I
shopper.
am on,
Right?
I
Yeah,
am
really?
on that site
Congratulations.
all
love 2
day
days?
long.
You and your elite.
Prime
You
is
could go
worth it.
I heard. That's what I hear.
You're not a Prime?
Evidently, my wife is a Prime. I just don't have the password. So we got to
Wait, you
get
don't know
together.
your Amazon.com password?
No, she won Prime on me without telling
it's
me.
the same account.
Is it really?
Yes.
It doesn't let me in. I'm not sure what's going on.
All right, Don,
Hey,
if you're watching,
you know-
send in the password.
if you don't
'cause you
mind.
might need to order something in
what?
the next
If
4
you
hours.
could text me, I know it's Saturday.
Brian, we could actually get you a necktie in the next 3 or 4 hours.
I think I look sexy, and so Joel told me that a little bit earlier, so I'm going to leave it off.
You feel a little loose?
So to speak, if you could say that. So yesterday on this very set, we had a chance to talk to the owner of the Patriots, who was kind enough to make it an annual event to appear in our show.
Such a nice guy.
Yeah, before his 7 Super Bowls, and he told the story. He's a Democrat from Massachusetts, and they
Gave money to Barack Obama's campaigns.
Yeah, and everyone's wondering, how did this friendship with Donald Trump get so fervent and so deep? Why were we all over the inauguration and Election Day? And here's what he said really made them fast friends.
Well, over 20 years ago, we've been friends, and I never really did business, but just had a personal relationship, and he's been great to me over those last 2 decades, and I had the privilege of going to Melania and his wedding, and in the toughest time in my life, he was there for me when my beloved wife died. 5.5 years ago, and he came to the funeral with Melania. He visited me at my home Memorial Week. He called me once a week for a year. How are you doing? I was really depressed, and he invited me to things, and he looked out after me, and only 4 or 5 people did that to that extent. So I'm loyal to my friends. I remember who the people are there when the tough times are there.
We played that because we not only wanted you to see what Brian looks like in a tie, staring at Bob Kraft. That was from yesterday's show, but it got so much play.
Hundreds of thousands of people shared that on social media because while the left is trying to paint Donald Trump as a nincompoop and a racist and all that other stuff, it turns out the people who know him, love the loyalty. It's interesting, down in Mar-a-Lago at Palm Beach, I believe tonight is the annual Red Cross Ball. That is where the President of the United States is today. He's at Mar-a-Lago, his resort, and there are a lot of people who are going to the ball because they want to say congratulations to their neighbor down in Palm Beach, Donald Trump.
And Bob Kraft, as well as Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, have hit it off with Donald Trump. And when Belichick called right after the victory
And look at how much crap did Tom Brady take for having the cap and being friends with him. They golf.
Do you
Big
think
deal.
you could call him, since you have a relationship with him? You asked him great questions. Could you ask him if I could spend the day with Tom Brady?
If you could do that,
Yeah.
if possible.
Well,
I'd like to interview him today.
You notice
For
all
an
I did-
interview?
Sure,
For an
no, I
interview?
understand.
All I did was nod my head and let him finish. That's all I did.
You had me at hello.
You got it, I guess.
Anyway,
so.
don't adjust your set and don't run to work. It is Saturday, and we're doing a special live show from Houston.
Because tomorrow is the Super Bowl.
That's right.
We're so excited.
Right.
Heather and Janice are here. We brought the whole show on the road for the first time ever, right?
Yeah, never been done before.
Never been done before. Heather, isn't it fun?
It's a great morning for it. Good morning to all of you. Hope you're off to a great Saturday. I have a couple news headlines I want to bring you right now. The military tug of war now continuing between President Trump and Iran, the #1 state sponsor of terrorism, now responding to brand new economic sanctions from the White House by planning military